So a quick introduction to who I am. First and foremost, father of 5. Here on the Sunshine Coast in Powell River, BC. I'm the ICT coordinator, and I have been doing this for about 10 years. I would do tech integration districts. We've been with Stellantis since 2008-ish. We've been doing portfolios for the last 3 years, 2 years pretty strong. And this last year, we've actually put all of our elementary teachers into portfolios. Some are still using traditional methods of reporting, but all have to report out using the portal. So parents all access reporting the same way. So it's been a steep curve this year for us. I also run the national user group for our SharePoint for K-12, which is for Stellantis. So it's from BC to Ontario, and we have some discussion groups there. It's sd4k12.com if you want to sign up and join the conversation. And most recently, on this role, Stellantis reached out to me and asked if I'd be open to doing some training stuff. So I have been filling my boots with a few opportunities when they come up to work with districts on training. And this one, when they asked me if I'd run this, I was pretty excited. This is a topic that I'm passionate about, and I hope that you can sense that. Please feel free to ask any questions. This email right here, matt@stellantis.com, following the meeting. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate. Fire me off. If it's more of a support question, like this isn't working, I'll likely pass you on to the support team. But certainly application orientation, like how might I do this? What do you think might work? I love having conversations around that idea. So our approach. So areas to cover in portfolios for us as School District 47. My experience in talking about portfolios is they're really going to encompass about 3 areas. First and foremost, as a parent especially, I want to know how my child is doing. I'm just going to call it, I'm a kinesthetic person. I move lots. So I have the video up simply because I'm used to engaging in person with people. And so, yeah, I just noticed out of the corner of my eye that you can see me spinning. I do that a lot. Anyways, back to where we're at. Assessments. So assessments are where parents get to know how is my child doing. So we've built a minimum standard for our teachers. We say that, say for English language arts, you need to report out to your parents 5 times a year, not any specific times, but 5 times a year. Your parents should know how their child is doing in English language arts. Okay, I'm going to give you what that looks like. And that's that core subject, that core idea. When you start portfolios, we want to make sure that parents get this kind of information, because that's what parents want to know. Is my child meeting expectations? Are they where they are at in regards to the curriculum, to the learning standards? How are they doing? Are they on track for graduation? Right. So the assessments are there. But the beautiful part about the portfolios is that in between those assessments, so 5 times a year, we're saying your child is meeting expectations. In between those, let's upload some writing samples. Let's upload some papers, some art samples, some reading, and perhaps an audio file of the child reading to fill in those blanks. So when I tell you in December that your child is not yet approaching expectations, that you can see the examples leading up to that, or the fact that you've seen 3 writing samples before and you can see the fact that Johnny really struggles with, connecting sentences, or he doesn't use any capitals, or punctuation is beyond repair. So that these marks, these assessments aren't surprises for parents. They're supported by these samples, but they don't need to be assessed. You don't need to formally say, Johnny is meeting expectations according to the standards. They can, but trying to hold back, because this also allows the students upload their own samples. To say, I want you to take one of your writing samples, and have students to select their writing samples, not necessarily on what you might call as their best work. What do they feel is their best work? And then the most important question is, why is that your best work? Now that you've uploaded that writing sample, why did you choose that writing sample as opposed to the other writing sample that personally as a teacher is a much better example of writing? And it's often in the asking of the why, again, this focus on core competencies, understanding more of ourselves, that students learn more about themselves, and we get a better look at who the students are as well. What's important to them? I picked this one because it looks prettier. Okay, well, aesthetics are obviously important to this person. So let's see how we can help personalize it with them to draw attention to that. So then that last one is celebrations. Celebrations are great. Recently I was chatting with a principal, and I kind of personally coined the term, kind of like it, digital backpacks that we want to avoid. I'm sure I'm not the only one that says it, but trying to avoid the concept of digital backpacks. My daughter brings lots of stuff home. I don't need the portfolio necessarily to just replace what goes home in the backpack, but what it can do in addition to that is, so for example, my kindergarten, my grade, again, 5, 3 in school, I have a grade 1 daughter. Her kindergarten last year, her teacher loved going outside. So they did lots of field trips, lots of experiential learning. So on the portfolio, I saw a picture of them down at the North Harbor with the Coast Guard. And in it said, today we visited the Coast Guard. Ask your child about the 3 parts of about a ship, or I don't even remember what the question was. But the important part to the parent was, I could now engage with my child rather than saying, what did you do today? And maybe getting information about the trip. I'm able to say, hey, Claire, I heard you went and saw the Coast Guard today. What can you tell me about a rescue? What are the 3 parts about a rescue? And then she can engage because she's learned something. Hopefully she remembers. And she can share that back. So the celebrations are about making connections between where learning happens in the school to where learning can be secured in our homes and can be reinforced. So that is something for me when I approach celebrations. They're awesome, but let's move beyond just simply being a digital backpack and sending, lovely pictures home of art. Let's have them ask questions, right? So when my son paints a painting, I want to know, what can I ask him? How can I engage with my son? It's a beautiful painting, but as a teacher, what were you trying to engage with them? Okay, so we're going to talk about that as well. So those are those 3 portions that for our teachers, when we focus on portfolios, we say we want to see assessments because parents need to see them. Parents need to know where they're at. We want to see samples because those are going to support those assessments. But we also want some celebrations so that that conversation can continue beyond the classroom and into the homes to really support the learning because there's great things going on in classrooms. I enjoy looking at posts because I get to see what's happening. All right. So again, in the chat line, please feel free to throw some chats out or questions. We're going to move at, I'm not going to call it a frantic pace, but a steady pace to make sure that we get through it. I'm going to base on the assumption that we know how to create a site, that when you create it in your Access, if your school has ADFS and the student information data sync, that you'll be able to add your classes. So this one here is a class set with dummy data, but it's a class set of students. I didn't have to add them manually. I just simply said I want to add my gym class. In pops my kids, and those portfolios are built for me. So that's kind of more technical information. Also information about parent notifications. I'll click on that one because that one does have value. The parent notifications work. Currently, in the timeline right now is kind of after spring break, parents will have logins where they'll be able to use the email that's in the student information system or one that they've provided to be able to sign into their student portfolio and comment. But right now, we can send invitations, and they can receive notifications that something has been posted. Now, what it says is, please go to your child's portfolio to view the new post. It doesn't send them directly to the post, but the advantage is because they're chronologically ordered, it's going to be looking at the most recent post.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so I think someone might need to mute their phone. Perhaps you just joined in, which is okay. So we want to throw that on mute. So again, that's going to be under that parent subscription. You can send those out. You can email parents. Technical stuff. Let's take a look at some portfolios. What you're going to notice above my class list is there's a distinction between posts over here on the left and posts here under the student. To emphasize the fact that student portfolios in the Scolantis application belong to students. The portfolio is not teacher-based. Teachers simply connect. So often I give the example with my teachers that it's like your hand, wherein the fingers are all of your student portfolios. As a teacher, I connect to it. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to disconnect my hand and my fingers are going to keep going. Probably a terrible example, but the idea is that we simply as teachers connect in short term, and then at the end of the year, we disconnect, and students continue on. So students own these. They can add to their portfolios, and then next year they can go back in an archive and they can view previous years because it's all in one location. But as a teacher, I can also add to them. So the tools here allow me to add individual posts right here to Sydney. I haven't figured out how to pronounce the name, but that's okay. And then here are my batch ones. The batch ones are what teachers are mostly going to want to use. Students upload, of course, those are one by ones, but teachers are going to be working typically on a whole class or at least group works. So the 4 options when we're in the desktop application are to add a rich text post, a photo-based post, video, or document. I'm just going to open up the video one, the photo one first, video one, and because it's the same for the other 2. What it allows me to do is I'm going to add my post title. I have this option here to lock. This is the one distinguishing feature between the teacher post and a student post. Students cannot lock a post. From a teacher's perspective, if I'm putting out an assessment, I do not wish for it to be deleted. So if assessments are, or if posts are being lost magically, make sure that they're locked, because students have the capacity to delete posts unless they're locked. But celebrations, those sorts of things, let students add to them. If a post is locked, students can't update. They can comment, but they can't update anything. So they can be locked. The date, so date deals with the organization. So the tiles as of today are organized chronologically. There's conversations about organizing in other ways, drag and drop. But right now they're organized chronologically. So if I want this to be up at the very top, I may future date it. I may put it today, but I also may put it on the day that it was assigned, and it's going to pop it down through the list. Now, if I do future date it and lock it, what's going to happen is that when I post it, it's going to say, I'm going to hide this. It's obviously not ready for the student to see because I future dated it. It's locked it, future post, so it's going to be hidden. As soon as that future date becomes a current date, it's going to show that post. It's going to notify the parent that it's available, and it's locked. So this is super handy in where a teacher may give out an assignment or have done an assignment in class, and they want to get that prep work. So they'll put the batch post out with the rubric or with the generic post about what's up with the assignment. And then over a week, they know it's going to take them about a week to do the grading and to get it ready to upload. So I'm going to future date it, lock it. And over that next week, I'm able to take photos, I'm able to upload, drag and drop, whatever I need to do to get those assessments up. And I've given myself enough time. And when that's ready, it's going to pop open. Parents can come in and they can view it. But that way, parents aren't coming in and seeing posts that aren't quite ready yet to be viewed. I can also, in a batch post, I can determine what students are going to receive it. So I can deselect the students. I was chatting with a teacher yesterday about having modified students in his class. He has 7 modified students, which often with class size and composition. But dealing with these modified kids, he's like, well, so how do I do this? I don't want to have to go in and delete them. So we talked about when you make a post wherein those students you know are going to be in the LC during that time, just simply remove them from that post, and then it doesn't go to them. Because the last thing you want is for a student or a parent to go onto the portfolio and have a half a dozen posts that don't actually involve their student. So you would just remove them from the post before it even goes out. You could also do, if you were doing group work, I could say it's just Chelsea and Claire that are going to get this post, because I've divided my students into 8 groups. And so, you know, 3 groups of 8. I'm going to put this specific post out to these 3, this specific post out to the other 3. But again, saving you that time so you're not having to do it. The biggest time consumer in creating a post is this section right here. Adding a post title, creating a date, selecting the students or even in the individual ones, tagging. Tagging is super important. Your district can select its own tags. Our district has all of the areas of learning by the ministry, all 9. Plus core competencies. Then we have a tag for IEP in case if that way teachers can tag that because it deals with the student's IEP or their goals. And also we have student and teacher assessment. So we as a district determine that's what we want for tags, but that's something that your own district can determine what they want. Tags are used as filters, 100%, that's their purpose. They allow you to take 50 posts and as a parent or as a teacher to be able to go in and say, you know what, I just want to look at English language arts. I want to know how is Johnny progressing this year, or perhaps how did Johnny do last year? Yes, 2 days ago I met with my daughter's teacher. We had an SBT meeting because her reading levels are way, way low. So we opened up last year's portfolio, we filtered on language arts, and we took a look at her reading samples. And we took a look at how was she doing, and we started to make a plan because we were getting that much bigger of a picture. So the further along we get, we're going to be able to go back further and further, and again, filtering on these specific areas, start to trace down where are they going, where have they been, which is so much more information we traditionally might have gotten out of a G4 file. So here we are. We've got our tags in, and these posts, these 3, photo, video, and document, I'm able to add it. So let's take this document for example, or this example. So this hangs on my wall in my office. My son in grade 1 or 2. The assignment was that they were all shown a picture of Van Gogh, Starry Night, which happens to be my favorite. And so the art project was replicate the painting. So what I could do as a teacher then is in here, I would upload a picture of Van Gogh's original art. And then down here, I could add a description, something to the effect of, in this activity, students were presented with Van Gogh's Starry Night. They were invited to replicate the painting to as closely as possible. They were allowed to select their own, you know, again, giving the activity description, what are the expectations, what are they looking for. The generic description would go here. Right? So that's the important part, is that on any of these, what I want to post is the generic description as much as possible. Anytime when I can say students were asked to, as opposed to Johnny was asked to, I'm going to put that in the description. And then I would submit that. And then what I can do, when that comes out, I can then upload the individual part. I could then take a photo, so using an app, which hopefully I'll get to have enough time to do the app as a sample. I could then take a picture of that. I could have a rubric that maybe I did by hand, that I highlighted how he did on the rubric, or maybe I'm using, and so I've got some samples here of PowerPoint rubrics. Yeah, anyways, this one here, so that I'm able to do this in PowerPoint. I drag and drop my cars. I save the PowerPoint as a JPEG, individual slides, and then I drag and drop them in. Again, the generic part, you know, all of these that are generic to the post, put that here so that you're not having to replicate that for every student that you do. And then maybe in the picture, it's got a sticky note with meeting expectations. Again, not everything has to be super tech. I work with our teachers. We've got them all over the board where they're right into online rubrics and paperless classes practically. But a lot of mine are still using their traditional teaching styles and assessments. They're simply using the portfolio as a method of communicating that learning back to parents, so that it can be more on time and more engaging for parents. And we've had some really great feedback from parents on being able to go and see the progress and to have that communication open. So again, that's the photo. And you're going to use this one when you have a photo you want to add, because it's easy to put in there. However, the rich text is kind of my default go-to. In this one, I can type, I can use format text, I can insert images, I can embed videos, simply by copying and pasting in a script. I can throw in a video, and I can push that all out. So that's out of like a YouTube clip. And again, I'm going to use that same format of which students, and then I can create documents. I can insert anything that's multimedia. So if I've got pictures, videos, tables, and right. So I've got my format text. I can insert a table. What I've started working on with some teacher, actually, I put the other day, is maintaining a OneNote document or a OneNote file that's separated into areas of learning, and we're just going to save all our tables in there. So our rubric tables, and then that rubric table can be copied and pasted in, similar to how this one right here looks. Here, so here's a table with the rubric. The teacher would just copy and paste it into the batch edit, and then once they've scored it, they can come in, they highlight, and they mark accordingly. And then gives that rubric, and then the teacher can easily drag and drop and upload the sample. A teacher or the student can put their sample document in here. Shows what the learning was or what the assignment was, right? So again, using this this rich text one gives you flexibility on what it is that you want to add. The moral of the story keeps on coming back to, when you're adding a batch post, as much general information as you can. If it doesn't need to have the student's name, then make it general. At some point, you're going to want to individualize it, but to save time on behalf of the teacher, give a description of the activity. That's general. You don't need to type that up for every student. So we're going to look at a couple examples, and actually, I think I currently have PowerPoint up for, should I share the right one? Hold on. Just gotta, where's my share screen? Desktop. Here we go. So, here we go. So looking at this rubric here, so what I've done here for our teachers is I've gone in and using the master slide view, I've created some default backgrounds. And what they can do is they go in and they add the details for their rubric. And then we have these little cars that they drag up. So they set up the generic, what is the information, they put the first student's name in, and then just hit Control D, it duplicates it, change the student's name, they change the assignment, the rubric. And then PowerPoint actually allows you to go File, Save As, JPEG, and what it spits out on the other end is a folder with the name of the file, and then every slide, say it is the JPEG. So what they do in their PowerPoint is they organize student names based on how they're organized in the portfolio. So that now, when I drag that over, all I have to do is take slide 1 and I drag it over top. And then it imports it in. And then I go to the next student, go to slide 2, drag it and drop it. So it makes it really quick and easy for them to take a nice, clear, easy to read rubric and to drag it into that assignment, which I realize I just put it in the wrong line, but that's okay. It's just a demo database. Okay, so that's one example where we've used PowerPoint templates to use it. Again, that's going to be comfort level. Where are teachers at with their comforts? And some of them just, I have one kindergarten teacher who feels she's a Luddite, but she worked with me on these PowerPoints and she uses them on all of her activities. She's absolutely taken charge and she's done some amazing stuff and communicating. Parents are ecstatic about the information they're getting. It's working out really well. So another one that I have is reading benchmarks. And so that one I had open. Nope, not that one. Reading benchmark, that one there. So this one here, again, the same concept. On the back end is this blank reading, you know, their expected reading, where we want them to be, where they currently, date. Then you can insert a picture of where they're supposed to be. What does that look like? And then insert a picture of where they're currently at. This is a generic statement about reading. And then they could highlight where they're at. I can just see that, sorry, the chat line just came up. Let's see what I'm missing on the chat. Okay, so the app is, oh, look at that. Alistair's answering that. Thank you, Alistair. I'll let you keep on answering that because that's one that you can answer, and I'll keep talking. Thank you, Alistair, for taking care of that. So with these, so again, so here's an example, reading level 24. This is where your child should be at this grade level and at this time. And then where they're currently at is an 18. So this child is, you know, way below. It's not even close to not yet, to even coming to not yet meeting. So well below a 1, and to be able to communicate that. But it's this visual aspect, right? So again, I mentioned having this SBT meeting with my daughter. A traditional report card would have said she's reading at a level 13. She should be at a level 20. And I would have said, I have no idea what that means. Whereas here I can look at that and I can say, wow, there's a big difference between those two levels right there. And I don't need to understand the intrinsics of how that is graded or how that's leveled at a 24. But as a parent, I can get the fact. Or by seeing these samples, I can get an idea. Actually, one of our grade 1 teachers, even prior to portfolios, was doing this with her kids, where she had samples along the wall of this is where like a 4, 3, 2, 1, this is what a 4 of my name written would look like, or this is what a 4 sentence looks like. So she actually had kids that would go up and self-assess, saying like, wow, like my writing, I can see that my spacing is all different. That looks like it's a 2, like this 2 example. So again, much like doing it in the classroom, but bringing it into the portfolio so that communication to parents of what that might look like. What are we expecting out of our kids? And where are we currently at? So here we go. When I back over to here, so those are two examples that we've used and have been quite exciting for the PowerPoint templates. If you want more information about PowerPoint templates, reach out to me afterwards. Again, matt@stellantis.com. I have a training site that I use internally for us, but it's an open, actually it's right here. And so I've got some videos on how to use the rubrics. I also have, some of them are right here, the flower rubric, race car, science report. I put most of mine up here. So if you're interested in some of those, I can share that at the end that we use within our district. So that's one. Another example that would be a document share. So last year when my daughter was in grade 3, her teacher wanted a way, so French immersion wanted a way to assess and to show students oral and oral skills. So I worked with her at creating a PowerPoint. It's funny, so for presentations, I think PowerPoints are evil, but for student learning, they actually work really well. So here's an example. So as a parent, I come in, what's going on with this? What am I going to see? Students come in, they edit it, they open it in Word on the desktop. So they download it, or anyways, they open it, it syncs. And what their job is to record. So these are grade 3 students.
Très courageux.
And so in the classroom with the student laptops, and I worked with the whole class, and it took us about an hour to get through this activity. It was the first time doing it, but they all had to log in, get to their portfolios, download. Took some hand-holding, but I have a recording of my daughter reading this paragraph. And then the next part is that the teacher wanted to practice with the oral skills. So she recorded her instructions and questions regarding that reading assignment, and then students had to orally respond to that question. And so here we have instructions from teachers, students responding, and as a parent, I can hear it. I can see how they're doing. And then the last part is that assessment, wherein that students self-assess. So I just removed it because it was generic. But my daughter had to give an assessment on how she feels she was doing in these areas, and then the teacher assessed it. And I was able to see that Soraya either needs some work or she's doing well in this area, and getting that. And here's this generic statement. In this assignment, students need to practice both their listening and their reading skills by recording their voice in the PowerPoint. You are able to, and blah, 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 right? So you can get that idea. That's the description that's sent out to parents. They can see what's going on. And there was no need for the teacher to push anything out about my daughter, because my daughter is going to be putting it in the portfolio herself. So the teacher can kind of relax. And that, a lot of when I work with teachers is trying to relieve that stress of how much work, because it is, it's a lot of work. I often, give that idea of that traditional reporting is on this wavelength like this, where 3 times a year, you're up 24/7 for a week and a half, trying to put these report cards together. Portfolio-based reporting is intended to be continuous. So you're going to increase your day, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes every day. And the teachers that do that have amazing portfolios with great and comprehensive information. And they have just simply gone this uptick, but it's constant all year round. And so I've got several teachers that have really taken hold of that and have done a really great job on implementing what they've done. I've been really excited about that. All right, so that's another one, is that students can integrate or engage right through the portfolio. Another way that you can engage your students, I should actually jump in and see 12 new messages. Looks like you're doing a good job. Assignments. So using the assignments feature, both assignments and blog have something that allows students to engage. So assignments is another feature in the classroom, in the Stellantis Classroom Suite. In this one, I passed out a PowerPoint that I had created for them as a template, rather than having them create their own. I created I added it just from Pinterest, but some prompt questions on what kind of things might they ask in an All About Me project. And this one was just an example from another thing. And then when I submitted it, you can see here that the PowerPoint was submitted to, or copied to all students. The All About Me image was not, because they can just reference it here. So when I go into it, these students have started, these ones have not. They can actually go in, and in the browser, they can update this PowerPoint. This one is a single one, but it's that hand idea where I upload one and it creates 30 copies once the student starts it. So they hit start. What it does is it creates it, and there it is there. Tells me that it's in draft mode. These ones have been handed in. I can turn it in. They can turn it in. I can assess it. The assessments are simply plain text like this, or they can be, that's actually a rich text. I can put in emojis if I want. I can just say completed if it's a pass or fail kind of idea. And then what they can do or I can do is copy it to the portfolio. And that's that idea of engaging with students, comments, conversations can be had. You know, all of these, this engagement of the asynchronous learning in a blended learning environment can occur. And then when they copy to the portfolio, it takes that assessment and it copies it over. So complete it. There's the assessment. Whatever assessment scale you're using, it's not dependent on a 1, 2, 3% or any of those things. It's completely free-form text. And comments would also go through it. If I had a conversation regarding that assignment, it would have flowed through as well. I can make additional comments here. But then I can preview that portfolio, and they can take a look and they can work through it. Right? So here's an example of using other features. So the blended learning, the Galantis Classroom suite of assignments to push things over, uploading things, items or these aren't celebrations. The celebrations are often going to be in here. So this is what we were doing with kindergarten. We created a batch post called Arts. And in the Arts post, the intention is that when students come in, they would hit the lightning ad on the iPad. They would then take a picture, and in the next 5 minutes or so, I'll jump over and I'll sample that, and they would upload their own. So actually, let's go to the blog, and then we'll jump over there. So under student list, I'm going to go to the Clara's blog. Some districts like Campbell River are using blogs as a method of student self-assessment of the core competencies. So students can go into their blog, they can write. When I work with kids using blogs, I have them adjust their categories to represent the core competencies. Then the idea would be a weekly writing prompt on topic on one of the core competencies. And then once a term or once in a while, teacher can go in and say, okay, kids, I want you to look at your personal social category, and I want you to take one of your posts and copy it to the portfolio. And they would just simply click copy to portfolio. And you'll notice there's a comment on this one, but when they copy it to the portfolio, it actually strips that comment out. And the reason why is that blog comments can be put in by any student. The blog settings by default are available for all students to view, all users in a district to view, and by default commenting is turned on. Students can turn off commenting though if they don't wish for people to comment, but because it's that third party, so Lindita might comment on Clara's post. Well, Lindita's comment shouldn't be included in the portfolio because it's not Lindita's portfolio. My comments can be in here if I place them here. But here is something that, again, integrating that blended learning or that asynchronous learning. You can give students writing prompts that I want you to go home and in your blog, I want you to reflect on the activity that we had out at the fish hatchery, you know, and to talk about it. But taking that learning outside of the classroom, and like the portfolios, blogs exist outside of classrooms. You'll notice that to get to it, I had to leave the classroom. I went into this student's blog. This blog is the classroom blog. It's different. So these portfolios, these blogs, they exist outside of the class, which means that from K to 12, the blog will follow that student. And by nature of a blog, they have this archive feature, so that in grade 12, I could go back and look at grade 10 writing. I know talking with Kara Dawson and Shannon Hagan, they often find that kids love going back into older portfolios or older blogs and seeing their writing styles, their voice. They think it's funny, but it can also be quite educational. Students who are really struggling with either self-esteem or feeling like they haven't done anything, that archive ability or even the ability to filter and say, you know what, let's take a look at some of your writing samples from September because I know you've grown, you just can't see it. And you're able to pull those up and students can really grab onto it and help them kind of recognize that there is growth. Or you can say, John, you know, we really need to make some work. You know, let's take a look at how this progress is going. I think we need to sit down with your parents and come up with a plan. And that information is in one place. Teachers aren't having to sort through filing cabinets or try to find resources in other places. Parent wants an SBT meeting? Absolutely. Come on in. We're going to open up the portfolio, and here's the stuff. Here's the things that we want to see. Again, why we want to focus on those three things, which are the assessments, huge. Samples are going to provide the meat behind the assessments, and then the celebrations are what connects the learning from home to school. All right, so I'm going to jump over really quick to the chat because I know I've missed a whole bunch. Right. So question from above. I missed that 5 minutes ago. Curious if this portfolio is resonating with your secondary teachers. So some, yes. Our district is really focusing on the portfolio-based assessment, and our secondary isn't quite ready to move in that direction. I've had a couple teachers who've wanted to use it, but we're still kind of looking at very traditional-based reporting styles. So I've got a couple who are interested in. The nice thing about it, and now that it's set up where it syncs with the SysData, is that my rainbows and butterflies is that after 7 or 8 years of portfolios and students engagement, that students will to keep portfolios going, and that teacher integration or teacher participation will be not as necessary. But the quick answer to that is I have a couple teachers who have expressed interest, but with new curriculum, we haven't spent a lot of time on it. So let me see if there's a couple other ones that say, Matt, quick question. 55. Oh, here we go. So here's, I'm using a portfolio high school, but not nearly as much as this shows. I was just thinking that using benchmarks would be amazing. I mean, parents. So yeah, benchmarks are great. Can use our own rubrics, so they need to be in PowerPoint. Yeah, so no, yeah, rubrics, whatever rubrics you have, drag and drop. Alistair kind of said that earlier. So let's jump into the mobile app. Show us the parent view? Absolutely. So it's really easy to see parent view. Currently, parents log in as students. So to see the parent view, it's this. Click on it. That's parent view. And so with parent login, Alistair, since you're on here, do you have any expectation that it will look any different? Turn the chat back on.
So I can talk for a second. Sorry, I just muted. So the parent view will actually be very similar to this. There'll be a landing page for the parent before they get here, but the actual experience for the parent will be very similar.
Yeah. So from the view perspective, they may have a different kind of interoperability or interaction part with it, but this is what they're going to see. So, and I see that one earlier, there was G. McLeod mentioning about PDF docs. So I'll get to that in just a second. I haven't missed that one. So what I often suggest for teachers, for like conferencing, right? So I want to be able to show them, is that if you start here and say, okay, Amano's mom and dad, is this the right information? Yes, we got the right stuff. Excellent. Let's take a look at his portfolio. And so we're just going to click on portfolio, and it's going to take me, now we can like take a look at it. That, rather than seeing everybody else's, it kind of gives a focused view. But by using that, it makes it nice and quick and easy if you're transitioning between one student to the next, to easily go through, check the demographic information we have is correct, and then jump over to their portfolio. As well as if they have a blog, jump over to their blog. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm just going to stop this share. And I'm going to throw my iPad on the screen. Join a meeting, which of course I need to figure out. Oh, hold on. To do that, I need to find what the number it is. 655-367-390. Join. Hello, iPad. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to start broadcast. Stop share. Gotta get that in the right order. Start broadcast again. Start broadcast. And I am sharing my screen. So here we are in the app. Again, the app, you need to have ADFS installed and running. You also need to have well, no, you just have to have the ADFS up and you can log in. What you're immediately going to notice the difference is that microphone button. So when I select a student, there's going to be an additional option, and the microphone button allows me to create a post based on an audio file. For example, self-assessment of the core competencies. The example I often like to share was that with my daughter this year, the teacher handed out a core competency sheet, which I've seen them, pay teachers, see them everywhere, where there are questions. Do you feel safe at school? Do you enjoy school? What's your favorite part about school? Like, good questions. Grade 1 child though. And then it had a happy face, mediocre face, whatever you call that face, and then a frowny face. So there was about 12 questions in total, and she colored all of the sad faces in with purple and put red X's next to every of them, all of them, including the do you feel safe? So I saw that on the portfolio, and I was like, why does my daughter not feel safe at school? So after a longer conversation, what ended up coming to light was that she didn't feel safe at school because her friend had puked the day before it was asked, and she was sure that she was going to be puking, and that was not good. So it's not that she wasn't safe at school, it was that her question or her answer was specific to an answer. So when we get to the self-assessment of core competencies, especially with primary students, is that rather than asking 12 questions, we could simply have a post wherein that we would batch post a student interview on core competence, and then we ask the student. Again, it's student assessment, it's not teacher assessment, but it can be certainly teacher guided. So we put an audio recording and we say, Claire, do you feel safe at school? Claire says, no. Claire, why don't you feel safe at school? Charlotte puked yesterday, and that's scary. I don't want to puke in class. Oh, that's okay, Claire. What can we, and you start kind of decompressing and helping a student deconstruct what their fears are, and having a recording of that 20 seconds as a parent, it's like, what? I can't have that conversation at home. And so using again, going beyond that digital backpack, the app allows you to do that. So a quick and easy way, there's that lightning button. It's a pencil and a lightning bolt. So when we were on the desktop app, when I clicked that, you may have noticed it only shows the picture and the video. So what we do when we're in the classroom is that there's the art project. So when kids have finished an art project, they go and they find their name. So the first step with the kindergarten kids is, can you find your name? Which is really an outcome for kindergarten. Can you read your name? So they go and they find it. And then the next step is that your face? So step 1, find your name. Step 2, is that my picture? Yeah, that's my picture. Okay, that's mine. Excellent. So now what we need to do is we're going to go and we're going to find the art. Where's the art one? There it is. We're going to touch that little picture button and we're going to take a photo. Now that we've set up the photo, see my computer is lovely and clean. We're going to pull this over here. Now in this kindergarten classroom, we've actually got a Belkin iPad table set up, so they don't actually have to hold it. They click that, they say use photo. It then spins and spins on me. Now, and I probably mentioned at the beginning, with our demo server, it doesn't upload quite as quick as it might with your on-prem servers. They just don't have as much back-end oomph. But here it's going to upload the photo. And so what the idea we created in the classroom was that students can continue to work, and when they're ready, they can come up. And if I turn off that lightning ad, I open it up, and there's the photo, right? And again, it's not an assessed photo. It's just, hey, look at me. And so students are able to go in, they can add some samples. And then when they go home, the great part about having a kindergarten student do it is you can almost guarantee when they get home, they can say, hey, Mom, come look at my portfolio. I added an awesome picture. And the teacher's encouraging them to do that, because part of this is how do we get parents up here? Notifications is a great way to do it, but this is another way that it gets kids in, and then they can go and show their parents where that is. In this project that I've done, I actually have been filming the kids do it and asking them, what's step 1? Step 1 is find my name. Awesome. What's step 2? Now I have to make sure it's my picture. So we start working on these concepts of logical reasoning and logical progression, like moving towards these ideas of computational thinking and ADST curriculum. And then that video becomes an artifact on the portfolio where a parent can see that their children understand the step-by-step, with the added bonus of parents now know how to post to the portfolio if they want to do things at home. So that's the app. The big thing on the app is the fact that the microphone is available. and you're able to capture. Also, the photos and the videos are compressed. So if you're taking a video, they can upload it, and it's much faster if you do it through the app. I was sitting at my kids' Christmas concert, and before they went up, it all of a sudden occurred to me, well, this would be great to be on the portfolio. So because I'm a co-teacher on most of our teachers, I jumped into the teacher's site. I created a batch video post, and I clicked add video. So I just did this. I clicked on here. I called it Christmas concert. Again, it's slower because we're on the demo one. I said add video. I said record video, and then I recorded the Christmas concert, and then I submitted it. And it was about a 3-minute video, and by the time the next class went up, I was already switched over to my other kid's teacher. Actually, the other one wasn't my kids, it was just another teacher, and I did the same thing for them. And so it compresses it considerably, about 1/10 the size we find, or I find anyways. So it uploads quite a bit faster. Upload failed, yes it did, because I didn't do it. All right, so I'm going to jump over to the chat window and see where we get that. So where do you get the mobile app? Mobile store. It's called the Scolantis Portal. So it's obviously a free app. If your district has an MDM, we've pushed it out to, well, we don't have an MDM, but we put it on all of our iPads. There is a caution. By default, the Remember Me is turned on, which is great if it's a one-to-one device. However, if they hit Remember Me, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to sign out. You actually have to delete the app and re-add it. So we had Scolantis actually hide that. Again, it's kind of up to your district, but and Alistair might have an update for that. But it's that's kind of where it's at with just to be as a cautionary tale when kids are using it, is if they hit Remember Me, it will remember them, and they will forever be logged onto that iPad until it's out, I think, 9 days. So Tim decide uploads, so roughly how long? We don't have the app. Roughly how long for the upload? So if you don't have the app, I would suggest getting an app like mRecorder. So mRecorder is a free app. It'll do up to 20 seconds for free, and anything more than 20 seconds, you have to upgrade. I think it's $4 or something. And the nice thing about mRecorder is you can tell it to record at a lower resolution. So what we would do is we do it at like 420p, which we found when we were doing it at 420, it was reducing it literally by 1/10. And that's the problem. And it may not, so on an Android device, it actually may not be as important, because an Android device, I believe, allows you to adjust that. Yeah, so the Android device, I believe, you can adjust the resolution at which it records. So it may be a moot point. On iPads or iOS devices, it's like, hey, you want a high definition video because I'm an iPad. So parents can currently use the app. They just have to log in as the student. So what we'll want to know, what there will be is a notification. If you go to the sp4k12.com website, you can sign up for notifications. And when the parent stuff comes out, when the parent account and parent portal, I think we're calling it, is released, that will come out via the notification. So you can sign up for Scolantis notifications, same way that they delivered these. So like moving forward, if we do these again, which I'm hoping we do, I really enjoy them. I enjoy engaging with people. So if there's interest for this, we'll put it out through that Scolantis MailChimp notifications. So yeah. Size uploads 10 times faster. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So yeah, we've never hit a maximum. It just takes. What we often find is that with the larger the size, it might time out. That was some of the problems we were having. Is that for really big files, it would time out on us and it would fail on the upload, and so that was getting really frustrating for teachers. But a part of that's also our setup. So yeah, no, if you're not using the app, definitely find an app that will reduce file sizes. And even the 20-second video, what I relate to my teachers is, other than their Christmas concert, 20 seconds is actually a really long clip. If it's a reading sample, 20 seconds, someone's probably going to fast forward to hear more. So yeah, I'd suggest if you're not using the app, definitely grab something like M Recorder. Literally, it's M as in Matthew, Recorder. And it's free. I like free. All right. So, yeah, thank you, Alistair. You're so good. Can we have more than one teacher associated with a student's portfolio? Yes. So in your class site, so let's get there. Let's stop broadcasting and share. Yeah, so we've moved to that portion now of ask your questions. So under access, you can add additional teachers. Now, there's a couple situations. If you are added as an additional teacher in MyEd, and if your district has implemented the new enhanced class size extract, GDE, then it should allow you to add that and get all of their information. Ooh, however, if you're co-teaching and you just want another teacher to access the student portfolios, you just need to add them as a teacher. So I can go in here and I can find another teacher. Let's say this is another teacher. I can add her, and now Lisa's going to have access as well to this class. And this teacher, so often where we'll use this is we'll add administrators, or teachers will add administrators as additional teachers to their class. And the advantage there is now when admin come in, do I want to leave? Yeah, leave. Okay. When admin come in, their list of classes are going to have all of their teachers. So now admin can go through. We have one administrator specifically, and I think a couple of them do it as well. She's got just shy of 300 kids, and what she'll do is just kind of every day, much like the teachers, every day do a little bit of portfolios. She'll go in and go to a class and just quickly glance through a few kids' portfolios and make comments. Just say, hey, Johnny, you know, really great job. She actually was doing it one day, and she commented on a student's portfolio, and he was in class on his portfolio, and his notification came up that the principal had commented on his portfolio post. So he's like, what? And he jumped over, and so he wrote back, and then she got a notification that he'd commented. And so they had 3 or 4 comments back and forth about this map project where he'd mapped out the school field, and yeah, she loves talking about that story. But it was kind of that, just an additional person and little additional feedback, not dissimilar to how principals would often mark comments. Obviously, a school of 800, that gets quite difficult. But I remember a teacher or an administrator in Comox saying once, we had a meeting a couple of years ago about portfolios and administrators, saying that, you know, we are expecting teachers to assess and report differently. Perhaps we should look at doing it differently ourselves. And so how we engage as administrator, or how administrators engage with portfolios, is certainly a conversation that is ongoing. And we've had lots of conversations about how do we make that better. But yeah, so to answer your question, can they do it? Yes, you do that through the Access tab. The only thing that they don't have is if they're not a MyEd teacher or a student, they're not in the student information system, they won't have access to student demographics and they can't send emails. But again, that can be done by the primary teacher. That's the only thing that can't happen. Okay, so that answers that question. While you're dreaming up some other questions or thinking of something else you might want to ask, this one here. So some resources, and we'll find a way to send this out. I may have to the all attendees list, just kind of some of these links. If you're not aware of the Scholantis documentation site and you like reading documentation, this is actually, for documentation, I'll admit it's actually really good. Yeah, it's good for documentation. I have some training resources that I have kind of occasionally added to, so I'll send that link out as well. Here's our user group. We have 2 conferences a year. So we're coming up in May to the IT Summit. This is obviously an older slide. So in conjunction with IT4K12, the ERAC conference, we do our user group conference. So we have it at the Sheridan. This last year we had 60 in attendance. I can't remember. It was a big group. And we break out into educators and IT specialist website kind of technical people. We're going to be doing it in Saskatoon at the IT Summit in this May. So if you're looking for a trip to Saskatchewan in May, we'll be there. And so we do that twice. And we invite teachers, we invite all people to kind of engage and to do some extra training. We would like to do more of what we're doing right here. So what we're inviting you to do, please, is to take a chance, and we'll send this out as well, this link, to give some feedback. What went well, what didn't go well, what were you expecting? This is our first kick at kind of trying to provide these PD. Is this something that's valuable? We really want to work with districts. You know, would it be better if we did this specifically for a district? Would it be better, you know, does this work on a wider scale? You know, we're interested in making it work to provide that support and to answer some of those questions. And maybe we look at just doing an open session. You know, that's another option, is that occasionally we just do Matt's going to sit on the computer and come on in and ask a question and answer some questions. And we've done that type of support for a couple districts now that's been quite successful. Yeah, my opinion, was successful, worked well. Yeah, so excellent question for IEPs. So that's a big conversation right now we're having in our districts. So I'm not aware of other schools, whether or not they're using them for IEPs. However, what we are doing is that we are encouraging teachers to tag posts when they deal with something that's on their progress report, right? So certainly aware of this using portfolios for goal progress. Yeah, exactly, both at the same time. So yeah, we're encouraging, so because one thing that like the MyEd Goal Progress Report doesn't provide are artifacts. It's very data driven. And so what the portfolio can provide is that the SPED teacher or an EA can actually post footage of a child completing a goal. So we have some, you know, high needs kids who are, you know, working on walking. You know, that's part of theirs is interacting or movement. So you can throw a video up, or they're working with a speech pathologist, rather than just that communication back via paper. It becomes a post that's tagged as IEP. We have some teachers that are concerned about putting the IEPs up there because the access, but again, the people who have access are staff and students, the specific students. So if you had a student that wasn't aware of that they had an IEP, then maybe you wouldn't put it there. But yeah, so to answer that question. Glad you got some stuff out of it. I would love to see, the more I work with portfolios, the more enthused I am and the more I hate grades. Yeah, my master's was even portfolio based rather than thesis based, and that was way harder than a thesis. I love writing, but yeah, I would love to see far more portfolios used in high schools, and I'd actually love to see what you do with it, to see some examples on how teachers are using it. Okay, so I think we are technically at our time. I appreciate those of you who made it out at the end of your long days. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. If it's a support question, I'll pass you on to support. That's their job. But if you have questions about how to use it, where to use it, or if you have an idea, or if you have something you want to share, please feel free to reach out to me. I did enjoy that. Okay. Yeah, Joan, if you have questions about the PowerPoint stuff, it's amazing what you can do with PowerPoint. Some things you shouldn't do, but it is pretty.